Right then, let's have a look at Chapter 5 of The Great Gatsby and the key quotations that I provided for you. So, to start off, we're going to have a look at lighting. And there are 3 quotations, and they change basically. The one in the middle is the odd one out because it's about Gatsby, whereas the 2 around it are about the lighting of his house. So the first one that talks about basically Nick thinks that his house is on fire. It's not. It's obviously Gatsby's mansion lit from tower to cellar. And I've said that electric lighting, it really wasn't common in the 1920s in America. You had to be very wealthy to have it, and have it in such an extent as Gatsby does. And so the fact that his house is lit up from tower to cellar tells us that actually it's an enormous show, or an extravagant show of his wealth. And he likes people to know that he's very wealthy. It's all part of his facade. The third one is all about, again, the house glowed full of light, and it turns on a solitary lamp, a trembling match as well. And it's all artificial basically, so this is not natural lighting that we're talking about. So a match, a lamp, and obviously all the electric lighting of his house is all fake. It's all part of this elaborate facade of money. However, the one in the middle is about Gatsby himself. And it is about him, and he says he literally glowed. There were twinkle-bells of sunshine in the room, and sunshine is natural lighting. And so, in this case, the idea is that Gatsby contrasts his artificial facade, and actually maybe we might suggest this case that his love is genuine, and everything around him is kind of fake. And so yeah, he has the natural lighting, whereas the house basically doesn't. It's all just the facade, which is fake. The love, that's real. Later on, we're talking about, again, facades. Nick talks about his ragged lawn, and he compares it with Gatsby's darker, well-kept expanse of lawn. And so obviously Gatsby's lawn is meticulously maintained, and it's all a part of his elaborate facade. He's really concerned with appearances, and we'll see that with his clothing later on as well. Whereas Nick, actually, my ragged lawn, he's really honest about it, and he doesn't really care enough to look after his lawn. And so perhaps we can suggest that Nick is more genuine. There's no facade to Nick, and he's basically a reliable, honest kind of person. That is then mimicked with the next part here, when this is obviously when Gatsby is trying to offer Nick some money. Basically, Nick's doing him a favour and reuniting him with Daisy, and Gatsby, I think it's really tragic actually, isn't used to friendship, and so what he does is he tries to return the favour by making Nick fantastically wealthy, by trying to give him a business connection. And so he talks in this really vague, really kind of, I don't know, anxious, worried language. Another little thing, why look here, a little business on the side. And I've pointed out a few of the techniques. Hedging is where you're trying to avoid saying something explicitly. So when he says little, when he says a little business, or a sort of, again here, he's hedging because he doesn't want to explicitly say it. A false start, why I thought, why look here, because, again, he's hesitating. And vague language sort of thing, business, he's trying to keep a secret basically. He doesn't want to actually say, this is illegitimate, but it'll make you a lot of money. So it hints at illegitimate business. He doesn't want to say it explicitly. Nick, on the other hand, says no. Basically, he's too moral to actually allow himself to be caught up in this kind of business, and so he won't. And he doesn't actually want this favour from Gatsby as well. He basically says, look, this is something that I've done as a friend. I don't need something in return for it, which is actually quite nice, and I don't think Gatsby's used to that kind of friendship. I would also suggest then, whilst this presents him as a reliable narrator, because he doesn't want to be bribed basically, and he's not interested in money, earlier on, I would suggest that the fact that he's actually hiding these things and not telling us what this business is, because he's written in this is written in retrospect, he could quite easily tell us that Gatsby is a bootlegger, but he doesn't. So perhaps like him actually hiding what Gatsby's business is him also being an unreliable narrator, or just maybe manipulating the reader in order that we look favourably upon Gatsby. Afterwards then, we've got a white flannel suit, silver shirt and gold coloured tie. Basically, silver and gold, even Gatsby's suit projects his wealth, and he wants people to know he's rich. So, similar to the house earlier on, which is all lit up, yeah, even what he's wearing tells us that he's fantastically wealthy. And later on then, he's basically in Nick's home and he's, I don't know, flicking through a copy of Clay's Economics. And it's a real text, it exists. And maybe by looking at a legitimate business text, he's trying to feign an interest in legitimate business. But his eyes are vacant, which means they're empty. And so actually, he doesn't actually have an interest in legitimate business. He doesn't know what it actually means. And so he just wants to appear like his wealth is legitimate. Moving on, when he actually meets Daisy, it gets awkward really to start off with. So here we've got the defunct mantelpiece clock, and so defunct just means it's not working. Time is standing still basically, and it's really awkward with Daisy, and so in this case time stops and it's horrible. However, when we get a few pages in, the reaction, he was running down like an overwound clock, so when things are actually going really well with Daisy, then time is really flying by, and so the idea of that is that he's really excited to be, I don't know, reunited with Daisy and things going well. However, unfortunately for him, no amount of fire or freshness can challenge what a man can store up in his ghostly heart. Daisy will never live up to these expectations and this romance that they used to have. I've also suggested that we've got his ghostly heart, so you've got this imagery to say that actually his heart's already dead, and this romance with Daisy is already dead. I don't think there's any reviving it, basically. And earlier on as well, no amount of fire or freshness. So Daisy is fire. She contrasts the people of the Valley of Ashes because she is a really wealthy, old money, upper class woman, and therefore you've got that really nice contrast with the poor, and even with Gatsby himself. We have, towards the end of the chapter, this reference again to the green light on the dock, and this really kind of tragic line here. His count of enchanted objects had diminished by 1. And so enchanted just means magical, and it's like the magic is disappearing from their relationship, or even from Gatsby's life. So in reuniting with Daisy, it's actually dispelled something. It's actually got rid of something that was once magic. And so maybe I've suggested that the hope was better than the reality, because Daisy's never going to live up to his expectations. And then finally we've got Fitzgerald's choice of song, which is Ain't We Got Fun. So you've got the line, one thing's sure and nothing sure, the rich get rich and the poor get children. The rich get rich is basically imitating or echoing what we've learnt so far. Rich people will stay rich, and the poor people, they will always stay poor as well. And so Gatsby was poor, he was the son of shiftless farm people, and he will never actually aspire to, or he does aspire to more, but he'll never go beyond that poorness basically. He's going to return to the ashes where he came from. And that brings us to the end of chapter 5.